Integer subtraction. Let's take a look at 2 minus 1, a familiar problem. We're going to start off with 2 tokens, and we need to take 1 away. The answer is 1. Since we started off with 2 positive tokens and we needed to take 1 away, it's a very simple subtraction problem. The next problem says 7 minus 3. I need 7 positive tokens, and I need to take 3 of them away. I have 3 to take away, and that leaves me with 4. In both of these cases, we were dealing with whole numbers being subtracted from whole numbers. And we also have the situation where the first whole number is larger than the second whole number. So here we carry out subtraction, and it actually looks like subtraction. The next problem is -8 to start with. So I start with -8, and I am to subtract -5. Because I started with 8 negatives, I actually have 5 negatives to take away. That leaves me with 3 negatives. Now let's take a look at -2 minus -1. I'm starting off with 2 negatives, and I am to take away 1 negative. That leaves me with -1. In these two cases, both values are negative, and the absolute value of the first number is greater than the absolute value of the second number. So this subtraction carries out as if it were 8 minus 5 or 2 minus 1, but the answer is negative because the first number, which is the larger value, is negative. So we actually subtracted here. Let's take a look at the next problem, 1 minus 3. I'm starting with 1 positive, and I am to take away 3 positives. But I don't have 3 positives. So I need to magically create 3 positives. And it's not so much magic. What it is we're going to place 0 values in. I have a negative and a positive, 1 red and 1 yellow. These are the value of 0. So I have 1, and I've just added 0, which is still 1. I'm going to add another group of 0. So now I have 3 yellows and 2 reds. I can now carry out the subtracting of 3. 1, 2, 3. That leaves me with 2 reds, or a -2. In the problem 3 minus 5, I'm going to start off with 3 positives. And I have to take away 5 positives. But I do not have 5 positives there, which means I need to create zeros and place them on here. I need to add 2 zeros to the 3, so that way I have 5 positives to remove. That leaves me with 2 negatives, or -2. In this problem of 3 minus 5, I ended up with -2. Also in the problem 1 minus 3, I ended up with -2. We can look at this and observe that the first 2 numbers are less than the second numbers. So we ended up negative. Some would say that we did not subtract, but we did subtract. We started at 1 and we took away 3. Just like if the temperature was 1 degree outside and we dropped 3 degrees, it would now be -2. We'll continue looking at subtraction of integers. In this first problem, it looks very similar to one that we just did. I'm going to write it over on the right. 1 minus 2. I'm starting off with 1 positive, and I need to take away 2 positives. So to do that, I need to create a 0, thus giving me 2 positives to be able to take away. leaving me with a -1. This time I'll start with -7. I have -7, and I am to take away +3. I do not have 3 positives to take away though, which means I need to create 0 pairs. And in fact, I need to create 3 0 pairs so I can take away 3 positives. If I take away the positives out of this group, it leaves me with 3 additional negatives, for a total of 10 negatives. Now I have -5 take away -6. Let's take a look at this problem. It says -5, and I'm to take away -6. Well, I have 5 that I can take away, but I need to take away 1 more. So I need to create a 0, so I have 1 more negative. And when I create that, I have 1 positive here that will remain once I've taken away the 6 negatives. Lastly, let's look at -1 take away -2. I'm going to start off with a -1, and I'm going to take away -2. To do that, I need to add a 0. Now I have 2 negatives that I can remove, leaving me with a +1. In these last 2 cases, we can see that sometimes teachers have told us that this problem of -5 minus -6 could be turned into the problem -5 plus 6. And the reason for that is that the 2 negatives are really resulting in positives that are taken away. With -1 take away -2, that is really -1 plus 2. There are many ways to look at positive and negative numbers. Using counters is just one method that will hopefully solidify your understanding of integers.